of the 5,000 with the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. And what we see in this story is that there were a multitude that followed him away from the city because he had left the cities because of what had happened to St. John the Baptist. This immediately followed after the beheading of St. John the Baptist. So he was kind of out in the countryside, away from the crowds, but they came after him anyway. And after an entire day, he saw how sick they were, how much in need they were, and he spent the entire day with his disciples, healing them, cleansing their infirmities and their impurities, and bringing them peace and health. The day had grown late, and the disciples said, thinking of probably their own stomachs, "It's getting really late, dear Lord, my Lord. Send these folks back to the town so that they can go and buy themselves some food." And the Lord says, "No, you bring them to me. You give them something to eat." Now we might at first think that this was a tremendous act of charity, and it was a charitable act. But the fact that the disciples would say something like, "Let them go to the towns and buy their own food," suggests that they were not without means. They would not have said something so ridiculous if these had been thousands and thousands of, say, refugees fleeing for their lives with nothing to give at all for food, no food with them. They could have gone back to their towns. They probably would have made a lot of money to the people who lived in those towns. All the little, they had fast food in the Roman era. Did you know that? Poor people ate fast food in the Roman era. I was watching a documentary. In Vesuvius, they found the remnants. The rich could sit down and lie down on the couch and eat very slowly and have their servants feed them. The poor had these little places where they would go and they had to stand up, and it was like walk through instead of drive through. So they could go, they could eat. There was something there. But the Lord says, "No, you bring them to me." And he took the 5 loaves and he blessed them and he broke them and he gave them. And he was able to feed not only 5,000 men, but all the women and children in addition were beyond counting. So imagine what that must amount to, over 10,000. So it's not exactly an act of charity, though it is, of course, charitable in kind. It may be even something needed. I would present to you that it may, in fact, have been an example of hospitality in the deepest sense of the term. Hospitality is one of the most profound virtues in the history of mankind. Hospitality is definitely rooted in the Middle Eastern culture of both the Jews and the Arabs, even in the ancient world. We see evidence of it all the way back to Abraham. After he had begun conquering lands, it says that Melchizedek, the priest of Salem, came and brought him bread and wine. And it was this gesture of hospitality, but it was also a gesture of peace, because Melchizedek was the priest king of Salem, which means peace. And throughout history, and especially in that part of the world, it was a sign of peaceful intention that if somebody were to come to your home, or to your tent, if you were a nomad, or wherever it was, if you presented them bread and salt, you were presenting them with a kindness and with a show of hospitality which indicated you were not hostile to them. You were not going to act in a way that was violent towards them. If they received your bread and salt, they were agreeing and consenting to the same. It was the diplomatic way of relating to people on the most fundamental human level. And you see it still today in the Orthodox Church. Bread and salt is a very strong tradition in the Orthodox Church. You see it most notably when the bishop comes to the parish. It is tradition to receive the bishop at the entrance of the church, not only with the gospel and the cross, but also with a loaf of specially presented bread and a bowl of coarse salt, which is good. The bishop wants to know that he's coming into a peaceful place where he is welcome, because that is not, of course, always the case throughout history or even in our modern era. Christ also was presenting bread and salt How so? Well, of course, the bread, we see. Where's the salt? The salt is in the fish. Because even though they were right off the lake of Gennesaret or the Sea of Galilee, what have you, it was at the end of the day. So any fish they would have had would already be salted fish. Because that's how they would eat it. You see this in the commentaries, even Talmudic commentaries on this subject, in the Jewish commentaries. Salted fish. So he was presenting to the people bread and salt. He was presenting to them a gesture of hospitality and courtesy. He had spent the whole day with them, but now he was doing something else. He was making an offering to God on their behalf of bread and fish, salted fish. And in Leviticus it says, your meat offering should have salt on it. He was demonstrating to them that he was receiving them into fellowship with himself. He was receiving them into diplomatic relations. He was reconciling them to himself in peace. It was not just that they had been purified of their sins and their sicknesses and their diseases. Now he was bringing them into a fold with himself. That is why he tells the disciples, bring them to me. What do you mean bring? They're all around. There's thousands of people crowding around. Where do you want me to bring them? Bring them to me. Into fellowship with me. Into communion with me. And of course he does the same for us. He presents bread and salt to us. How does he do that? He gives his body, which is his bread, and he gives his blood, which is salt. Salt and blood is salt. But also, he unites himself with us because we are salt. We are the salt of the earth. We are the ones who are called to season the world through the preaching of the gospel. So that when we go out into the world as Christians and present our love and our hospitality, and we give of our very selves, we are giving bread and salt to the world. We are reconciling the world with peace, showing them love, showing them hospitality, showing them courtesy. So you see, on many, many levels, this miracle is more than just feeding a bunch of hungry, sweaty people. And sweat is salt. It is a reconciling of the entire world to Christ, of humankind to the divine. It is an image of the Eucharist, which we just partook of. Because the wine is salt. How so? Because it is the blood of Christ. You see all the fundamental layers stacked upon each other, the symbolism of our Lord's actions. Nothing is done accidentally. Nothing is done haphazardly. It all has a greater meaning. Christ wants to reconcile you to himself and to your brothers and sisters in peace through the offering of his body and blood, the most precious bread and the most holy salt. May it be for all our peace and reconciliation. Brothers and sisters, Christ is among us. God bless you.